Man believes he cannot create life, not truly. A thing with a soul, a thing that lives, until our own creation starts to become more human than us. We think that we are defining life, but what if the very life is defining us? हम अकेलेपन से डरने का छलावा करते हैं। ये दिखावा सच नहीं है। असल में हम उस आईने से डरते हैं जो हमें हमारी असलियत से रूबरू कराता है। हमें बताता है कि हम संसार का केंद्र नहीं। सच कहूँ तो हम कभी नहीं थे। Hey, my name is I and मुझे स्टोरी टेलिंग पसंद है। मुझे कहानियाँ सुनाना पसंद है। I've started this channel to document my life, to share my work and मुझे ऑनेस्टली नहीं पता कि फ्यूचर में मेरा चैनल किस डायरेक्शन में जाएगा, बट it is indeed going to be a interesting journey. So, if you want to become a companion, please consider subscribing. Joe, a replicant, a synthetic being created to serve. But he's not just any replicant. He is a blade runner, a hunter of his own kind. He exists between two worlds, neither fully belonging to one nor other. Joe lives a life that feels like it's moving forward. एक ऐसा जीवन जो रुकी हुई नदी के समान है, हर दिन अगले में ढल जाता है। He moves through his existence like a ghost, और वो भी उस दुनिया में जो उसे जीवित नहीं मानती। But his life is not empty as it seems. There is Joey. Joey एक होलोग्राफिक AI है जो की भावनात्मक ज़रूरतों को पूरा करती है। बाहरी लोगों के लिए वो सिर्फ एक छलावा है जो की इच्छाओं का प्रतिबिंब है, बट जो के लिए शी इज मोर देन दैट. She calls him special and says he is something more than just Officer KD63.7. When she calls him Joe, something shifts. In that moment, he feels alive. He feels human, a real being who, like all real beings, deserves a real name. And with it, she gives him the one thing every soul craves: meaning. He navigates the cold, mechanical world of cybercity, fulfilling his duty as a blade runner. Every day, he witnesses the tensions between humans and replicants, hearing slurs like skin job, hurled as if to draw a line between the born and the made. He is neither accepted nor understood, yet he moves forward. Then, something extraordinary disrupts his fragile balance. इन्वेस्टिगेशन के दौरान उसे एक ऐसी चीज़ का सुराग मिलता है जो असंभव की ओर इशारा करती है। एक ऐसी चीज़ जो उसके विश्वास की नींव मात्र को डगमगा देती है। एक ऐसा बच्चा जिसका जन्म एक आदमी और एक रेप्लिकेंट के मिलन से हुआ है। Piece by piece, the investigation unravels. Clues buried in the rain-slicked streets, whispers from the past, remnants of the lives long gone, and in the midst of the storm, Joe begins to realize that all of it leads back to him. The very possibility transforms his existence. It's no longer about duty. It's about identity, about purpose. about finding out who he truly is. He becomes drawn into the mystery, driven by a question that even he cannot articulate yet. Not as a machine, not as a tool, but as someone or something searching for a truth greater than himself. There is a memory that Joe carries, etched into his mind like a scar. It's the memory of a wooden horse, hidden in a furnace. A moment so vivid, so visceral, that it feels undeniably real. रेप्लिकेंट्स के लिए यादें शायद ही उनकी अपनी होती हैं। वे आमतौर पर कृत्रिम होती है, निर्मित होती है, स्थिरता प्रदान करने के लिए बनाई जाती है। लेकिन ये याद अलग है। ऐसा लगता है कि ये याद उसकी अपनी है। ये यादें उसे कुछ खास महसूस कराती हैं। It feels like it belongs to him, like it's a piece of his soul. The investigation leads Joe to a memory designer, someone who can actually decode the authenticity of what he carries inside. When the memory is examined, it is clear that it isn't an illusion. Someone truly lived it. This revelation shatters the wall between what Joe is and what he could be. If this memory is real, then he is real. Not just a machine with implanted fragments, but someone born, someone who lived. For the first time, he feels as though the life he's longed for might actually belong to him. And with that possibility, everything changes. The wooden horse is no longer a gesture, a symbol to a life he thought he could never have. It connects him to the past that feels painfully yet beautifully human. But the weight of his realization is almost too much to bear. The memory doesn't give him hope, it demands answer. Answer that could prove that he is something more. लेकिन आशा एक नाजुक चीज होती है और सच्चाई अक्सर उसकी सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन. The moment comes when Joe is confronted with the truth that he is not the special child. और इस समझ के साथ उसके पूरे अस्तित्व की दीवार गिर जाती है. When Joe discovers that he is not the special child, the weight of this realization crushes him. The memories that once felt so vivid now mock him. He was never born, he was made, and with that, the fragile identity he had built for himself collapses. For Joe, this emptiness is overwhelming. The possibility of being born, to have a soul, is stripped away, leaving him with nothing but the void of his existence. In this void, he feels the weight of being nothing, a creation caught between the human and the mechanical world, grasping for a meaning that slips through his fingers like the rain outside his window. But here's the paradox. It is in his emptiness, his despair, that Joe feels the most human. For to feel pain, to grieve the loss of an illusion, is to possess something no machine should have: empathy. And perhaps empathy is the soul's truest form. Joe was never special. He was never the miracle child. But in his sacrifice and his willingness to save something greater than himself, he became more. Man believes he cannot create life, Yet, here we are, surrounded by creations more human than their makers. To feel empathy is to transcend the mechanics of birth and assembly. Joe's journey reminds us you are not defined by how you came to exist, but by what you choose to do with your existence. If you can feel for others, if you can love, you have a soul. In the end, Joe found peace, not in being special, but in simply being. And perhaps this is the most human thing of all. In true sense, Joe was more human than most. He had a soul, not because he was born, but because he chose to be alive.